The ancient warning: the galaxy had forgotten many things over 2,000 years. Empires rose and fell like waves against cosmic shores. Species that once commanded star systems became footnotes in dusty archives. Trade routes shifted, technologies evolved, and the map of known space expanded far beyond what ancient civilizations could have imagined. But some warnings should never be forgotten. Dr. Zenth. Korvac pressed his six-fingered hand against the cold metal of the excavation site. His people, the Valkyrie, had once ruled a dozen systems before their mysterious disappearance 2 millennia ago. Now he stood in the ruins of their greatest archive, buried beneath layers of crystallized sediment on the dead world of Velkara Prime. The dig had taken 3 years. Most of his colleagues had given up after the first season, claiming the site held nothing but worthless artifacts. But Zenth had persisted, driven by fragments of his people's final transmissions. Something important lay buried here, something his ancestors had died trying to preserve. The chamber he had uncovered defied explanation. Unlike the rest of the ruins, this room showed no signs of age or decay. The walls hummed with dormant energy, and strange symbols glowed faintly across every surface. At the center sat a massive data core, its crystalline structure pulsing with stored information. Zenth activated his translation matrix and approached the core. As his equipment interfaced with the ancient technology, holographic displays materialized around him. The first image made his blood freeze. A star map appeared, showing the galaxy as it existed 2,000 years ago. Red markers indicated Velk territory, spanning across multiple sectors. But in one small corner of the map, a single system glowed with an ominous warning beacon. The Sol system. The third planet was marked with symbols that translated roughly to Sleeping Death and the Watchers. A voice echoed through the chamber, speaking in ancient Valkyrie dialect. The translation came through clearly enough to chill Zenth to his core. This is High Archivist Thorin of the Valkyrie Science Collective. If you are hearing this message, then our empire has fallen. We record this warning with our final breath, hoping future generations will learn from our mistake. We thought we were the masters of the galaxy. We believed our technology was supreme. We were wrong. The hologram shifted, showing massive Valkyrie battle fleets. Their ships were technological marvels, bristling with quantum weaponry and protected by energy shields that could deflect asteroid impacts. These fleets had conquered hundreds of worlds, brought entire species to heel, and carved out an empire that stretched across the spiral arm. 6 months ago, our long-range scouts detected a primitive world in the Sol system. The third planet, designated Terra by its inhabitants, showed signs of early technological development. Primitive radio waves, basic spacecraft, simple nuclear technology. The species called themselves humans. They appeared to be isolated, unaware of the greater galaxy, and utterly defenseless. Zenth leaned closer as the recording continued. His translation equipment struggled with some of the technical terms, but the meaning was clear enough. Admiral Cathara convinced the High Council that this human world would make an excellent resource extraction site. The species appeared docile, their technology laughably primitive. We sent 3 scout fleets to catalogue their defenses and prepare for annexation, standard protocol for pre-space civilizations. The hologram changed again, showing sleek Valkyrie scout ships approaching a blue-green world. Earth looked peaceful from orbit, its cities glowing softly in the darkness, its orbital space dotted with what appeared to be simple satellites and space stations. The first fleet reported no resistance. Human spacecraft were crude, using chemical propulsion, and basic materials. Their weapons were kinetic projectiles and primitive energy beams. Admiral Cathara laughed when she read the reports. She ordered the second wave to begin resource surveys. But something in the archivist's tone had changed. The confident narrative became strained, worried. That was when they detected the anomalies. Deep space sensors registered massive energy signatures beneath the Earth's crust. Not geological phenomena, but artificial constructs, structures that dwarfed our largest installations, buried so deep and shielded so effectively that only direct examination could reveal them. Zent's heart pounded as he watched the tactical displays change. The human planet that had seemed so primitive suddenly blazed with hidden energy signatures. Underground facilities lit up like a star chart, connected by networks that spanned continents. The humans had been watching us from the moment we entered their system. Their primitive exterior was camouflage. Beneath their world lay technology we could not comprehend. Defensive systems that had been waiting, silent and patient, for exactly this moment. The recording showed what happened next, and Zenth understood why his people had vanished from history. The first human ships that rose from Earth's surface were unlike anything in Valkyrie databases. They moved without visible propulsion, their hulls absorbing scanner beams rather than reflecting them. When the Valkyrie scouts fired their quantum weapons, the energy simply disappeared into the human ship's armor, as if the attacks had never occurred. Our weapons were useless. Our shields meant nothing. The human vessels fired once, each shot perfectly placed. In 17 seconds, 3 entire scout fleets were reduced to debris. Not destroyed, not damaged beyond repair, but completely atomized, as if they had never existed. The voice of the ancient archivist grew hollow, filled with a terror that transcended death itself. But they did not attack our homeworlds immediately. Instead, they sent a message. A simple transmission in perfect Valkyrie, though no human had ever heard our language before that day. The message was brief. You have awakened us. This was unwise. Leave our territory and never return, or face the consequences of your actions. Zenth watched as the hologram showed Valkyrie High Command debating their response. Pride and arrogance warred with the evidence of human superiority. The Valkyrie had never retreated from a challenge. They had never encountered a species that could match their technology, let alone surpass it so completely. Admiral Cathara convinced the Council that this was an elaborate deception. She believed the humans had discovered some ancient alien technology and were using it to intimidate us. She recommended a full invasion force to call their bluff. The tactical display showed the largest Valkyrie battle fleet ever assembled. Over 10,000 ships, carrying enough firepower to crack planets and burn entire systems. The pride of their civilization launched toward a single primitive world whose defenders had numbered less than 50 vessels. The humans were waiting for us at the edge of their system. Not 50 ships, but 50,000. They had been hidden throughout the Sol system, inside asteroids, beneath planetary surfaces, in dimensions we did not know existed. Each ship was larger than our biggest dreadnoughts, armed with weapons that bent the laws of physics. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted 18 minutes. They did not simply defeat us. They dismantled us. Every shot was calculated, every movement precise. They took apart our fleet like surgeons, targeting specific systems to disable rather than destroy. They wanted us to see. They wanted us to understand. The recording showed Valkyrie ships being systematically crippled, their crews captured by technology that could selectively transport individuals across space. Human ships moved through the battle zone like predators, their movements so coordinated they seemed to share a single mind. When it was over, they released a single ship, Admiral Kathora's flagship. They allowed her to return to Valkyrie space with a message. This is your only warning. Tell the galaxy what you have seen. Tell them that humanity sleeps until awakened, and we prefer our sleep. Any species that disturbs our rest will join the void between stars. Leave us in peace, and we will not seek you out. Cross our path again, and no mercy will be shown. The hologram flickered as the recording neared its end. Zenth could see emergency lights flashing in the background, hear alarms that spoke of immediate danger. The humans kept their word in the most terrible way possible. Our entire fleet, over 9 million souls, simply vanished. Our colonies went dark one by one. Our trade routes fell silent. In less than a year, the Valkyrie Empire ceased to exist. Not conquered, not absorbed, but erased, as if we had never risen from our homeworld at all. The ancient archivist's final words echoed through the chamber like a curse. To whoever finds this record, heed this warning above all others. Never wake the sleeping giants of terror. Never cross humanity's path. They are patient beyond measure, but their patience has limits. And when those limits are reached, they do not forgive, they do not forget. They simply remove the problem from existence. The recording ended, leaving Zenth alone in the glowing chamber. For long moments, he stared at the tactical displays, trying to process what he had witnessed. His people, the mighty Valkyrie Empire that had once commanded vast sectors of space, had been wiped from existence by humans who preferred to remain hidden. But that was 2,000 years ago. Surely the galaxy had changed. Surely the human warning was obsolete, a relic of an ancient age when species were more warlike and territorial. Asterisk. As if responding to his thoughts, the chamber's systems activated new displays. Current galactic maps appeared, showing the present-day configuration of known space. The Sol system was marked as a restricted zone, noted in most databases as uninhabited or resource depleted. No major trade routes passed through human territory. No exploration fleets had filed surveys of the region in living memory. The galaxy had unconsciously learned to avoid that small corner of space, guided by warnings so old their origins were forgotten. But warnings, Zenth realized with growing dread, that might soon be tested once again. His communication device chimed with an incoming message from his research sponsor, the Nexa Collective. They had been funding his excavation for 3 years, expecting him to uncover valuable Valkyrie technology for their expanding empire. The message was brief and urgent. Dr. Korvac, new long-range surveys have detected valuable mineral deposits in the restricted Sol system. The collective has authorized a resource extraction mission. Your expertise with ancient technologies may be required. Prepare for immediate departure. Zenth stared at the message, then at the glowing warnings that filled the chamber round. The Nexa Collective was about to make the same mistake his ancestors had made 2,000 years ago. They were about to wake the sleeping giants of terror, and this time humanity might not bother with warnings at all. Asterisk, the price of ignorance. Commander Vex of the Nexa Collective adjusted his sensory array as his scout ship approached the outer edge of the Sol system. The long-range surveys had been promising. Asteroid belts rich in rare minerals, gas giants with valuable atmospheric compounds, and best of all, a seemingly uninhabited star system with no defensive installations. The Nexa Collective had learned from history, or so they believed. Unlike the ancient empires that had fallen through overextension and military excess, they preferred surgical strikes and calculated expansion. Small fleets, precise operations, maximum profit with minimum risk. Sensor report, Vex commanded, as his ship's instruments began their detailed scan of the system. Third planet shows signs of past habitation, his science officer replied. Atmospheric composition suggests former industrial activity, but current readings indicate biological collapse. Whatever species lived there appears to be extinct. Vex nodded with satisfaction. Extinct civilizations left behind the most valuable salvage. No political complications, no territorial disputes, just pure profit waiting to be extracted. Dr. Zenth Korvac sat in the corner of the scout ship's bridge, his archaeological credentials having earned him a place on the expedition. But instead of excitement at the prospect of studying human ruins, he felt only growing dread. The Valkyrie records had been clear. Humanity's extinction was an illusion, their primitive appearance a carefully maintained deception. Commander, Zenth said quietly, I must advise against this mission. My research suggests this system may still be defended. Vex laughed, his translator rendering the sound as contemptuous clicks. Dr. Korvac, your own people vanished from this region 2 millennia ago. If there were any defenders here, they would have made contact with the galactic community by now. Dead worlds don't bite. The scout fleet proceeded deeper into the soul. System, their advanced sensors cataloging resources and potential extraction sites. Jupiter's moons showed promising mineral deposits. The asteroid belt contained enough rare metals to fund a dozen expansion campaigns. And Earth itself, despite its apparently dead biosphere, registered massive underground caverns that could house industrial operations. Everything proceeded normally for the first 3 days. The scouts established orbital stations, began preliminary surveys, and prepared detailed reports for the main fleet. Commander Vex was already calculating his promotion prospects when the anomaly occurred. Sir, the sensor operator called out, his voice strained with confusion. I'm detecting energy patterns from the third planet, deep underground signatures, but they single quotes massive. Define massive, Vex ordered, though something in his stomach was already turning cold. Continent spanning, sir. Networks of interconnected structures beneath the planetary crust. And sir, they're powering up. Across the scout fleet, identical readings appeared on every ship's displays. The supposedly dead world of Earth was revealing itself, layer by layer, as a fortress of incomprehensible complexity. Underground installations that dwarfed any known construction stretched from polar ice caps to equatorial regions. Energy conduits formed patterns that resembled neural networks, all leading to central nodes that pulsed with contained power. Get me a communication link to Fleet Command, Vex ordered, his casual confidence evaporating. Priority Alpha. We may have encountered unknown defensive systems. But before the transmission could be completed, Earth spoke. The signal bypassed every encryption protocol, every security barrier, every communication filter the Nexa had ever developed. It appeared simultaneously on every screen, in every speaker, in every data stream throughout the scout fleet. The voice that emerged was calm, measured, and spoke in perfect Nexo language. You are trespassing in restricted space. This is your only warning. Depart immediately or face the consequences of your actions. Commander Vex stared at the transmission display, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. The signal's origin point was deep within Earth's crust. Broadcast, through technology that their best engineers couldn't even detect, let alone understand. "This is Commander Vex of the Nexa Collective," he replied, falling back on standard first contact. "Protocols. We claim salvage rights to this uninhabited system under galactic law. Identify yourself and state your territorial claims." The response came instantly, and with it came the first glimpse of humanity's true nature. "This system has been under human protection for over 2,000 years. Your salvage claims are rejected. You have 30 seconds to begin departure from our territory, human." Vex turned to Dr. Korvac, whose pale features had gone completely white. "Doctor, I thought you said humans were extinct." Zenth closed his eyes and whispered a prayer to whatever deities might still be listening. "Commander, we need to leave. Now, immediately." The Valkyrie records were clear about what happens to those who ignore human warnings. But Vex's military training had not prepared him for strategic retreat from primitives. The Nexa Collective had never encountered a species they couldn't intimidate or overwhelm. Pride and protocol demanded a show of strength. Unknown entity claiming human identity, Vex broadcast. "The Nexa Collective does not recognize territorial claims in uninhabited systems. Provide proof of current habitation or withdraw your protest." The timer hit 0. What emerged from Earth's surface defied every assumption the galaxy had made about human extinction. Ships rose from hidden installations across the planet's surface, their forms flowing like liquid metal until they solidified into configurations that hurt to look at directly. They moved without visible propulsion, accelerated without apparent energy expenditure, and arranged themselves in formations that seemed to bend space around them. The largest vessel took position directly above the Nexus scout fleet. It was not merely bigger than their ships, it existed on a different scale entirely. The scout vessels could have fit inside its smallest weapons ports. When it spoke, the voice resonated through dimensions the Nexa couldn't perceive. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Terra Defense Command. You have ignored our warning and violated our territory. In accordance with Preservation Protocol 7, your vessels will be disabled and your crew questioned. Resistance is neither recommended nor effective." Commander Vex watched his tactical displays with growing horror as more human ships materialized throughout the Sol system. They had been there all along, hidden in plain sight, waiting. The asteroid belt swarmed with vessels disguised as chunks of rock, gas giant atmospheres, concealed ships larger than space stations. Even the solar radiation patterns had hidden massive constructs orbiting within the stars, Corona itself. "How many ships do they have?" Vex whispered his tactical officers. Voice cracked as he replied, "Unknown, sir. Our scanners can't get accurate counts. At least 10,000 confirmed contacts, but the sensor shadows suggest many more." "Fire a warning shot," Vex ordered desperately. "Show them we're not defenseless." The scout ship's main cannon, capable of cracking asteroids and crippling cruiser-class vessels, fired a precisely aimed burst toward the nearest human ship. The beam struck the vessel's hull and simply vanished, absorbed without creating so much as a scorch mark on the alien armor. Captain Chen's voice returned, now carrying a note of disappointment that somehow seemed far more terrifying than anger. "Warning. Shot registered and ignored. Dr. Korvac, we are aware of your presence and your research into Valkyrie archives. You will be given the opportunity to witness what happens when species fail to learn from history." The human ships moved with coordinated precision that spoke of shared consciousness or technology beyond Nexa understanding. They didn't attack in the conventional sense. Instead, they demonstrated complete control over the battlefield environment. Suddenly, Zenth found himself alone with Torres in a different location entirely. They stood in what appeared to be a vast library, with holographic displays showing the rise and fall of dozens of galactic civilizations. "This is our archive," Torres explained. "Every species that has encountered us leaves records here. The Valkyrie, the Zelthor, the Zyran Alliance, and 47 others, all chose aggression over wisdom." Zenth stared at the displays, recognizing names from archaeological legends, civilizations that had supposedly destroyed themselves through war or natural disaster. "You erased them all." "We defended ourselves," Torres corrected. "Each time we offered withdrawal and peace. Each time they chose to test our resolve." "We do not conquer, Dr. Korvac. We simply remove problems that threaten our preferred isolation." "But why isolation?" Zenth asked. "With your technology, you could rule the entire galaxy." Torres gestured to another display, showing Earth as it appeared from space. Cities glowed beneath the surface, connected by transport networks that spanned continents. The planet teemed with life, but it was life that had chosen to look inward rather than outward. "We tried expansion once, in our early years. We found that growth beyond our homeworld led to corruption, conflict, and ultimately suffering. So, we chose a different path. We became perfect at defending what we had, rather than taking what others possessed." She turned to face Zenth directly. "You will return to Nexa space with a complete record of this encounter. Share it with your leaders, your military, your explorers. Make certain they understand that this corner of the galaxy belongs to a species that values peace above conquest, but will choose survival above peace if forced to make that choice." Hours later, Zenth found himself back aboard the Nexa scout ship as it drifted at the edge of the Sol system. Commander Vex and his crew were unconscious, their memories edited to remove technical details about human capabilities while leaving, the essential warning intact. As the human ships escorted them away from Earth, Zenth watched through the viewports as the massive defense fleet began to fade from view. Not departing, he realized, but returning to concealment among asteroids, gas clouds, and stellar phenomena. In minutes, the Sol system would appear empty and uninhabited once again. The final transmission came as they crossed into unrestricted space. "Dr. Korvac," Captain Chen's voice said softly, "your people showed wisdom in heeding our warnings. 2,000 years ago. We hope the Nexa Collective will demonstrate similar intelligence. But understand this, we no longer issue second warnings. The galaxy has grown too crowded, too aggressive, too willing to test boundaries. Future violations of our territory will result in immediate and permanent solutions." The communication ended, leaving Zenth alone with the weight of carrying humanity's message back to his sponsors. As the scout fleet jumped to hyperspace, automatic distress beacons began broadcasting a simple message to every Nexa vessel within 100 light-years. Sol system remains under human protection. All approach vectors are monitored. Any vessel entering human territory without explicit invitation will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. This message will not be repeated. In the depths of space, automated relay stations picked up the transmission and began broadcasting it across the galaxy. On worlds where archaeologists studied ancient ruins, scholars noted new additions to their archives. Warning systems that had lain dormant for centuries began updating their databases with current threat assessments, and deep beneath Earth's surface, in command centers that existed partially outside normal spacetime, human consciousness networks began preparing for whatever would come next. They had hoped the galaxy would learn wisdom from observation rather than experience. But if another lesson was needed, they were prepared to teach it with the same thorough finality they had demonstrated. For 2 millennia, the sleeping giants of terror had awakened once again, reminded the galaxy of their presence, and returned to their patient watch. But this time, they would not sleep quite so deeply. The universe was changing, becoming more dangerous, and humanity would adapt as they always had, by becoming the most dangerous thing in it. Asterisk.